Hey guys, it's Kevin again, and this is going to be my review for Mad Men Season 7, Episode 7, Waterloo. This was the mid-series finale, which was a huge deal for this show, because whatever happened in this finale determines what's going to happen in the next 7 episodes next year. You know, this was the final episode of the year, not only the final episode of this particular season, but the final, not only the mid-series finale, but also the final episode of this year. So, you know, the next 7 episodes next year are going to determine what happened in this episode. And you know what? Where we are headed for the next 7 episodes, I'm really looking forward to it, because wherever we're headed, it's going to be really dramatic, I think, and I'm really interested in seeing where it's going to go. So, let's just get to this episode, because overall, by far, it was the best episode of the season. I really, really enjoyed it. A lot of great things. The ending was weird, but I think I know where we're headed in the next 7 episodes. And if that's where we're headed, then it's going to be a very depressing 7 episodes. But you know what? This show is great when it's dramatic, because it's a drama. So you have to love that about the show. So let's just get to my review. So we see Ted. They're flying their sun-kissed clients in his tiny personal plane, and their client jokes about whether or not Ted can actually fly the plane, and jokingly, he kills all of the engines. So, I thought they were going to end up, like, crashing in this plane, because if you remember, in the promo, they said, you know, take a flight or something, or get ready to take off, I think they said something like that. And, you know, we saw some in a plane. So, I thought there was going to be, like, some sort of a plane crash in this episode, because they were talking about they don't want to crash. So, I thought there was going to be, like, them crashing the plane, but that did not happen in this scene. So, Jim calls Ted and asks him if he wants to die. Ted says that he doesn't want to die, but he is done with advertising. He doesn't want to do it anymore. And you know what? I like that they're setting this up, because, as I said, it is the mid-series finale, so I'm starting to think that's where the show's headed, that some people are going to not want to do advertising anymore. So, you know, I think, you know, that definitely was a very interesting scene to watch. So, he tells Jim he wants him to buy him out of the company. He just doesn't want to be a part of it anymore. He's basically done. So, Harry, Pete, Peggy, and Dawn, they're rehearsing their pitch for Burger Chef. And afterward, Peggy, you know, because Peggy in the last episode said it's all about family, so they're rehearsing their pitch for it. Peggy then heads home to her apartment and finds the contractor, Nick, still working. He leaves his number in case she has any more jobs for him, and heads out. So, him leaving his number, I don't know. Maybe a possible relationship here, I don't know. Honestly, I don't want Peggy to be in a relationship right now. She's very, like, she's doing a lot now, and I think if she was in a relationship, it would just put more stress upon her. So, I don't want to see her go into a relationship. Maybe, like, further down the road, like, say, the series finale, sure, but not so soon. Like, don't make it the first episode of the final season. Peggy, it gets a boyfriend. Don't make that the first episode. Make that like the series finale. I'd be fine with that. So, Don's assistant takes him aside and says that he got a letter, and it's very, very upsetting news about a breach of contract. So, it's really important that he looks at this letter. And the letter apparently is about Commander Cigarettes. She tells Don that she is his strength and asks what she can do for him. And he tells her she can get his attorney on the phone. You know what the biggest part of this is? He kisses her in that scene. I mean, that was huge. He kissed her. He kissed his attorney in that scene. I mean, he kissed his assistant in that scene. It was just like, wow. I mean, I don't know if that was so big, but he kissed her. I was pretty surprised about that. So, Don is pissed off at this point. He is just pissed off because he's basically finding out that they're going to kick him out of the company. So he's pissed off, and he wants to know, why are you kicking me out of the company? And Cutler says it was cut and dry and the contract was broken. So Don heads out into the hallway. He's yelling and screaming. This is basically an angry side of Don we've never seen before. I mean, we've seen Don pissed off, but not like this. I mean, he really is pissed off, and it really is, you know, really big. So basically, he heads out in the hallway yelling and brings all the partners out of their office. He demands that they vote then and there whether to keep him in the company. Cutler and Joan vote to kick Don out, but Bertram, so they vote to kick Don out of the company because he wants to be kicked out. So Bertram, Pete, Don, and Roger outnumber him. And Don declares motion denied and storms off. So he knows he's not being thrown out now, and he's basically like, alright, well, I won, so I'm not being kicked out, obviously. So then we see Don calls Megan. Now, I predicted last week that Megan was going to leave Dawn, because it seemed like just from her, like, gathering her stuff together, that she was planning on leaving Dawn. I thought that's where this was headed. Turns out, though, that Dawn calls Megan. He informs her he doesn't know if he's still going to Indiana because the partners are trying to fire him. You know, he promised Megan, you and I are going to Indiana together and we're going to get out of here. But now that they're trying to fire him, it's not exactly going to work. So Megan tells him that maybe he should consider moving on from the company. And, honestly, I thought that was a good idea. Maybe it is time for Dawn to move on. I mean, he was considering moving on before he left the company. He was gonna move on. So Megan's telling him, why don't you just move on? But he says to her, if she wants him to move out there, and she doesn't answer, he promises her that he will always take care of her, whatever she needs, he owes her that. So I think that's kind of her basically saying, goodbye, Megan, because it's kind of him saying, I don't think our relationship is going to work. However, I'm always going to be there for you, and I'm always going to be there to provide for you. So, I definitely thought that was pretty big, but I definitely feel like wherever Dawn and Megan is headed, it's basically them, their relationship is done. I feel like the Dawn and Megan relationship, you know, right now, it's done. I feel like it's done, because I don't feel like they can do anything else with that relationship anymore. So, I feel their relationship is done. And honestly, if their relationship was done, I would not have a problem with that, because we've seen them have problems all season long. So I definitely feel like the relationship is done. So Bertram and Roger, they're discussing kicking Cutler trying to kick Dawn out of the company. And, you know, Bertram says that no man has ever come back from leave. So, you know, he didn't vote him out, because we find out why Bertram wanted Dawn to come back so badly. He tells him that he did not vote Dawn out because he's a leader, and Dawn is on his team, and he sees Dawn as a leader for his company. And Cutler's a leader too, but he is not on Bertram's team. You know, Lou, of course, is the one that, obviously, nobody seems to like Lou at this point. Everybody hates Lou, it seems like, at this point. I personally, I don't like Lou. I've hated Lou from the beginning, so I'm not upset that, you know, Bertram doesn't like Lou, because I never liked Lou. I thought Lou was annoying. Then we see Harry, Peggy, Dawn, and Pete. They're boarding on an airplane to head to Indiana. And as I said, I thought that there was going to be a plane crash in this scene because of this thing in the promo. I thought someone was going to end up dying. I thought Peggy was going to die in this episode because she was getting a lot of focus on the episode. So I thought Peggy was going to die. But nothing ended up happening. Instead, Pete gives Dawn a pep talk about how amazing he's going to do at Burger Chef. And then they head to the hotel room and they all gather around the TV to watch the shuttle because, you know, the other thing this episode was they're all getting ready to watch Apollo 11. That's the other big thing this episode, is that they're all getting ready to watch Apollo 11. So, I mean, that's a pretty big thing. I also forgot to say that Peggy's neighbor Julio came downstairs to watch TV, and he realizes that Peggy will be gone during the space shuttle landing, and Peggy promises to leave him the key so he can watch it while she's gone. Julio begins crying and reveals his mom is moving him to New York and he doesn't want him to go. So Peggy confronts him, but is also noticeably upset about his move. So I was interested in seeing where that was going to go. But they're watching, back to the space shuttle thing, they're watching it on TV. And what I love about this is you really got to see how big of a deal this was for everyone in the 60s, you know. Just think about it. If you were in the 60s and, you know, you saw someone on the moon for the first time saying, you know, one small step for man, one giant leap, you'd be amazed at what happened. I heard when this happened, like, kids were called out of school and things like that, just to watch this. And it was awesome to watch, apparently. And basically, they gather around the TV to watch the shuttle landing on the moon. And basically, they're all just really excited to watch it. And we see Roger, Betty, and their families. They're also gathered around their TV watching Armstrong in the room. They're all just glued to their television. Like, that's the only thing that matters to them. And I thought that was awesome, personally. I love that scene. So Dawn then calls Sally. And when he calls Sally, she wants to see if she's watching their program on television. She seems very unimpressed, tells him that she thinks the government is wasting too much money on the trip to the moon. I don't know what that was about, personally. I think it was just kind of him trying to reconnect with his daughter, but clearly it seems like she's distanced away from him again. At first I thought they were on the good path, but now it seems like she's distanced away from him. So Dawn's basically losing everything this episode. He lost Megan. He's losing Megan. He just lost his daughter, so... Then we see Roger receive a phone call, and all he says is, oh shit. Now, I thought he said that because his daughter died. I thought that's what it was about, because he says, yes, this is he. And, you know, usually when you say yes, this is he, it means somebody has died. So I thought his daughter had died. But then it turns out that he heads to the office and he takes Bertram's name off from his door. And Joan and Cutler arrive shortly after, and Joan wants to start calling the clients and telling them what happened. And Cutler's too focused on, Lou is too focused on getting Dawn out now, and it turns out that Bertram has died, and they can't vote to keep him in. So Roger's disgusted with both of them. He's basically like, how can you... And I mean, if I was Roger, I'd be disgusted, because Bertram just died, and you're focused on getting Dawn out of the company. Like, seriously, what is wrong with you? Joan and Lou are just so focused on it that they don't even care that Bertram has died. It's just like, Bertram's died. Bertram was such a big part of Sterling Cooper, and all you care about is that, getting Dawn out of the company. It's just like, what? Like, what's wrong with you? Why do you just want to get Dawn out of the company? I don't understand that. So, basically, Roger calls Dawn in Indiana, tells him that Bertram passed away on his living room on the couch while he was watching the man land on the moon, and he also tells him that Lou is already talking about getting rid of Dawn now that Bertram is dead. So he's kind of like warning Dawn, you better step up your game or else Lou is planning on firing you. So Dawn heads to Peggy's room, tells her that there is a change of plans. He wants her to give the presentation tomorrow, because if she gives the presentation tomorrow, he has a less chance of getting fired. He does not want to get fired because he wants to have something in his life. He just wants to have something. So he offers to practice it with her so she can be fresh. Dawn says that the partners are trying to vote him out, and if he wins Burger Chef, the company will lose them as a client when he leaves. But if Peggy wins the client, then it will be hers regardless of whether Dawn leaves or not. So, he's happy. He really wants something good to come out of this because he doesn't want to be fired. So, he's basically saying either way, it's going to be good for both of them. So, the next day arrives, and it's time for the Burger Chef presentation, and Dawn introduces Peggy, and I really like this, because she takes the floor, begins talking about Neil Armstrong landing on the moon, and then she begins presenting the Burger Chef, and that she and Dawn dreamt up together when the Burger Chef men urge her on and tell her that it's beautiful. And, I mean, I thought that was a really good scene, because Dawn kind of let Peggy on the floor. He said, Peggy invented this. I was not the big part of this. Peggy's the one that should talk, because they want Dawn to speak, but Dawn said, let Peggy talk. So Dawn, and you know what, throughout this whole episode, I love Dawn and Peggy's friendship. I really do. I love their friendship. I love how tight they've gotten, and I love that. So Dawn returns home, and he finds Roger waiting at his door. And Roger reveals that they got an offer from McCann Erickson to buy out the entire company as an independent subsidiary. So Don would be able to keep his job, Roger would be the president, and they could kick Lou to the curb. So this is a great thing for both of them. Honestly, I'm glad Lou is leaving. So basically what he's saying is that I could be the leader here, and if I'm the leader, then, because now that Bertram said Roger wants to follow Bertram's footsteps, which I think is great. Roger now wants to honor Bertram, so if this happens, that Don would be able to keep his job, Roger be the president, and Lou's gone. So, the remaining 6 partners, they head into a meeting the next day, and they have a very difficult decision to make. They don't know if they want to do this or not. Roger fills them on the offer that they got from McCann Erickson for a 51% stock purchase. And Roger explains that their agency is becoming a serious threat to McCann. All they want is a 5-year contract, and each partner will get millions of dollars. The problem is that the deal is only good if Ted signs on, and Ted wants to quit advertising, as we know. So he's not going to sign a 5-year contract. So obviously it's not going to work. But Don decides to give him a pep talk about getting back to creating, and Ted then votes in favor of the sale, and he decides to stay. So it's a done deal. So basically, Lou's gone, Roger's the president, and Don's going to get his job back. So they all head out to the office. And Peggy rushes to tell Dawn that Burger Chef called and they landed the contract. So that's a great thing. So they land the contract and everything's great there. So Roger then calls a meeting in the middle of the floor and announces that Bertram passed away to all the employees. So basically that's basically what happened there. I thought that was definitely really great that, he told all the employees that Bertram died. They were all really upset that he died. And, it was pretty big, because then we see Don, he walks out of, he's about to walk out of the office. He has kind of like this look on his face, like he's really depressed of something. And he watches Bertram put on this musical number, just like Mad Men the Musical all of a sudden. And he puts on this musical number, singing the song, "The Best Things in Life Are Free." and then he waltzes into his office, and then we see Don. He just looks so depressed. He has this look on his face, like he actually looks suicidal at this point, and he sits at his he sits down really depressed. So that's how the episode ended. And honestly, I'm going to talk about where that is headed. But quickly, we do have to talk to you about Betty and Sally, because they did have a little thing to do in this episode. Not too much with Sally, but a little thing with Sally, which I will talk about. Betty's friend Caroline and her husband Rick are visiting Betty and Henry, and will be staying for a few days. Sally happily shows Caroline's teenage son to his room. So you can see that Sally kind of likes this guy, because Caroline and Peggy, they're gossiping about Dawn, and Sally heads off to a pool for her lifeguard job, and her mom notices that she's wearing lipstick, which is completely out of her character. You know, she's not used to her wearing lipstick at all, so she's kind of not used to that. And you can see that, you know, Sally really likes this guy. You can definitely see that happening. Turns out, though, that this is not the guy that kisses her. The guy that actually kisses her is, is the son of Caroline. That's the guy that kisses her, which really means a lot to her. So, I mean, that was a pretty big thing as well. And nothing too big there. All we see is that she's falling in love, which is great. You know, Sally's falling in love, and I thought that was a pretty good scene. I like seeing her falling in love. But overall, this episode was amazing. I mean, I loved it. I loved every single minute of this episode. It was such a good finale. Like, seriously, it was amazing. I loved it. Every scene in this episode was amazing. Every frame of this episode was amazing. And I can see why they didn't show any of the anything of the promo on, last week. They just showed, like, past clips, because they didn't want to give away the main plot of this episode was getting Dawn out of the company. That was the main plot here, and they didn't want to give that away. So I gotta give them applause to that. Now let's talk about where I think we're headed in the show. You know how Dawn's really depressed now, and he saw Bertram? Seeing Bertram was kind of him seeing his, leaving his happy place. You know, Dawn used to be really happy. Now that he's seen Bertram leave, that was kind of the happy side of him leaving, and now he's really depressed, because think about it. He's lost his wife, he's lost his daughter. Yes, he has the company, but he's just not the same man he used to be, and he actually looked very suicidal. So I'm thinking that Dawn is going to end up jumping out of that building in the last episode, because if you remember in the theme song, you see Dawn jump out of a building. So actually, I did not come up with this theory. My friend Kane LaPlante, aka the Kid of Awesome, came up with this theory. So I will give him full credit for that, because he came up with a theory, not me. But I do agree with him that I do think that could very possibly happen, and I do think that's what's going to happen, is that Dawn's going to jump out of the building. Also, we saw Peggy talk about how she's probably leaving, so I don't know where that's going. We're going to have to see what happens there. But, what's going to happen with Dawn? Do you think that he's going to actually, become successful in the company, or is he going to end up being, like, really depressed and he's going to commit suicide? I think that's probably how the show's going to end. Is him and Megan's relationship finished? I really do think they are finished. I don't see them going anywhere else. Peggy and that guy, that janitor guy, where do you think there's going to be a possible relationship there? As I said, I don't want Peggy to be in a relationship. I really don't know what's going to happen there. Sally, what do you think's going to happen with Sally and this guy? I hope we see more of this, because I like seeing Sally kind of get this new guy. Also, I like that everyone was in this episode. This was the very first episode that every single character was in. You know, every episode this season, there's been, like, one character that's been absent. Everyone was back in this episode. Also, do you think that Joan's going to still try to get Dawn fired? Because she wants Dawn fired. It's not just Lou. It's also Joan that wants him fired. So do you think that Joan's going to try to get Dawn fired as well? I don't know. We're going to have to see what else happens. And also, is Roger going to be successfully follow Bertram's footsteps? Is he going to be able to do that? I mean, he's part of the company, so, I mean, we're going to have to see what happens there. But that's it for my review. Also, I'm kind of wondering, and I thought this in the episode, I thought there was a point when Sterling Cooper went out of business, but that did not happen. I think they're probably going to go out of business. I really do see that happening. Even though they are relocating and things are seeming good now, I feel like they are going to go out of business, because at heart, the show is a drama, and I feel like this show can only end very, very sad. So, we'll have to see what happens, but that's it for the Mad Men episodes of this year. There's no more Mad Men all year, and honestly, I'm fine with it, because I think they ended on a really great cliffhanger, and I'm really looking forward to the next 7 episodes next year. It's going to be great to see. But that's it for my review. the mid-season finale Mad Men. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode, and I will see you guys in my next video, which will be for Penny Dreadful. So, see you then. Bye.